From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired!
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Eric Ham, live in Washington, D.C. And over the next few minutes, we'll take you from the United States and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, here's a look at the latest headlines. The United States is deploying more troops to the Middle East amid rising tensions. This after Israeli strikes on Lebanon killed nearly 500 people yesterday, making it one of the bloodiest days in the country in decades. Ukraine accuses China of allowing foreign technology to enter Russia. Kyiv also claims drone and missile technology originating from the United States and the West is also making its way into Russia. More than 400 economists endorsed Kamala Harris and her vision for the U.S. economy. This just one day before the Democratic presidential candidate is expected to roll out her economic policies in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. The United States will donate 1 million Mpox vaccines and $500 million to African countries as Mpox cases exceed 30,000 on the continent. And airplane maker Boeing makes a final offer of a 30% wage hike to its employees. More than 30,000 Boeing workers have already been on strike for nearly a month after rejecting a 25% pay increase. We start off in the United States and the race for the White House. Former President Donald Trump is doing slightly better than Vice President Kamala Harris in 3 key battleground Sunbelt states. The Sunbelt is a region in the United States that stretches across the southeast to the southwest. It roughly consists of 16 states, including the swing states of Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. According to the latest New York Times Siena College poll, Donald Trump is now 5 points ahead of Kamala Harris in Arizona. The Republican presidential candidate also holds a lead of 4 points in Georgia and just 2 points ahead of his Democratic opponent in North Carolina. President Joe Biden won Arizona and Georgia in 2020. And Democrats haven't won North Carolina since 2008 during Barack Obama's historic run to the White House. However, this time, Donald Trump's slight lead suggests that this election could be one of the tightest in American history. The New York Times Siena poll found that for many undecided voters, Donald Trump's character, personality, and behavior are pressing concerns. Some of these voters even said that the former president could be a potential threat to American democracy. Meanwhile, far fewer undecided voters expressed worries about the vice president's behavior. However, they were doubtful about her judgment, honesty, and most importantly, her capability of handling the economy.
I mean, just from the atmosphere around here, I feel like it's kind of surprising that it's a swing state to me. I feel like most supporters around here are for Trump. You see more Trump signs and banners and flags here than anything anywhere else.
I don't think anything could affect it. If you were going to vote for him, you're always going to vote for him. Because the people that are always going to vote for him are not voting for him because it's Trump. They're voting for the policies, they're voting for the resume, they're voting for what he already did, and they're voting for the life that we had 4 years ago.
Now, if Donald Trump manages to win these 3 Sunbelt states, he would only need one of the crucial swing states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin to win the election in November. However, Kamala Harris could still win the White House even if she loses Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. Buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride now through November. And with less than 45 days to go before voters in the United States head to the polls, Donald Trump's running mate JD Vance blamed Kamala Harris for skyrocketing egg prices, claiming they had risen to $4 per dozen while standing in a supermarket in Pennsylvania. But there was one glaring issue. The price tags behind him showed eggs at $2.99 per dozen. What was meant to be a political statement quickly turned into a viral moment as social media lit up with jokes about the senator's scrambled facts. It was another foot-in-mouth moment for the vice presidential hopeful, something that's becoming more commonplace for the novice politician. Here's more from the campaign trail.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Very nice to meet you.
It was a sunny Saturday in Reading, Pennsylvania. And JD Vance was making his rounds at a local grocery store, trying to drive home his message about inflation. With two of his kids tagging along, Vance headed straight for the egg section, determined to highlight what he saw as the disastrous effects of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's policies.
Look, guess buddy, you want some eggs? Yeah. Let's talk about eggs, because these guys actually eat about 14 eggs every single morning. Is that right?
Yeah,
whoa. We'll be careful about this. Eggs, when Kamala Harris took office, were short of $1.50 a dozen. Now a dozen eggs will cost you around $4 thanks to Kamala Harris's inflationary policies.
It was a moment that was supposed to perfectly encapsulate Vance's message about the struggles of everyday Americans. But as the camera zoomed in on him, something in the background caught the attention of sharp-eyed viewers. Right there on the shelves behind Vance were cartons of eggs priced at $2.99. And then came a social media storm. Within minutes, clips of the scene were circulating online. One user on social media platform X wrote, "I know math isn't your strong suit, but that's 2 dozen." Another chimed in, "Stop lying to your party to get votes." The internet pounced, turning Vance's grocery store trip into a viral meme. While the irony was hard to ignore, there was a bit of truth to Vance's claims. According to some reports, the average price of eggs in Pennsylvania had climbed to around $4.52. But standing in front of $2.99 cartons made the whole thing a bit awkward, to say the least. Now, eggs weren't the only item on Vance's inflation list. He claimed ground beef used to be just $4 a pound, but now it's closer to $6. He then pivoted to the broader economy, criticizing high interest rates and claiming that they were making it impossible for people to afford homes.
These people have been suffering for months or even years. In Springfield, Ohio, people are getting evicted from their apartments and from their homes to make way for people who shouldn't be in this country to begin with. That is a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
But while his egg prices may have missed the mark, Donald Trump's running mate wasn't done. Later that weekend, he sat down for a big event in Hershey, Pennsylvania, with political commentator Tucker Carlson. The two conservatives traded jokes about their careers and took aim at polls, claiming they were skewed in favor of liberals. Vance even reminded the crowd of the 2016 election, where Trump defied poll predictions in Wisconsin and hinted that history might, in fact, repeat itself. As Vance and Carlson wrapped up their chat, the audience seemed energized. But online, the egg saga wasn't going away anytime soon. Social media was relentless, and the $2.99 price tags were now forever tied to Vance's message about inflation.
And staying in the United States, the U.S. government is planning to ban certain technology that is made in China and Russia used in automobiles. These imports allow smart cars to use Bluetooth and the internet to connect with the outside world and driverless systems. The software is specifically used to communicate in cases of emergencies. However, Washington says using Chinese and Russian-made technology on American roads poses a national security risk. Embedding such software and hardware in American vehicles could lead to the possibility of remote sabotage. The Biden administration is concerned that China and Russia could hack American vehicles, make them collide, and collect the personal data of drivers.
Cars today have cameras, microphones, GPS tracking, and other technologies connected to the internet. It doesn't take much imagination to understand how a foreign adversary with access to this information could pose a serious risk to both our national security and the privacy of U.S. citizens. To address these national security concerns, the Commerce Department is taking targeted, proactive steps to keep PRC and Russian-manufactured technologies off American roads.
The proposal would ban the sale of import of vehicles with the technology installed by China and Russia, and it could be extended to other U.S. adversaries as well. The software ban will go into effect in 2027, and the hardware ban will take effect in 2030. Chinese automakers will also be prevented from testing self-driving cars on U.S. roads. However, the restrictions would not apply to cars that have Chinese software installed already being used in the United States.
While connected vehicles yield many benefits, the data security and cybersecurity risks posed by software and hardware components sourced from the People's Republic of China and other countries of concern are equally clear, and we will continue to take necessary steps to mitigate these risks and get out ahead of the problem.
The U.S. Department of Commerce has given the public 30 days to comment on the proposed ban, which will be finalized by January 20th of next year. The Biden administration's latest move escalates the U.S. restrictions on Chinese technology even further, and Washington is already locked in a trade war with Beijing that began last year. This includes tariffs on batteries and minerals, and a 100% import duty on electric vehicles, and a ban on exporting semiconductors to China. And now to South America, where tensions between Argentina and Venezuela have reached a boiling point. In a dramatic escalation, both countries have now issued arrest warrants for each other's presidents. In fact, Venezuela was the first to act, targeting Argentina's President Javier Milei for the alleged theft of a Venezuelan cargo plane. President Milei has been accused of ordering the dismantling of a seized Boeing 747 aircraft, which Argentina confiscated in 2022, suspecting it of having links to international terror groups.
This Attorney's Office of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela announces the assignment of the attorneys who are carrying out the pertinent diligence of the case and are processing the arrest warrant against the citizens Javier Milei, President of the Republic of Argentina.
The Venezuelan Attorney General has also issued arrest warrants for Argentina's Security Minister and President Milei's sister.
He is a neo-Nazi fascist and a thief who steals airplanes that belong to the Venezuelan people and the Venezuelan nation. One day, he wakes up and pretends to be a human beast. Another day, he appears with a wig and says he does not know his sexual identity.
Now in retaliation, an Argentine court has ordered the arrest of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro and several top aides. The Argentine court accused Venezuela of crimes against humanity, including the kidnapping and torture of Venezuelan citizens. The court has also requested Interpol to issue a red notice for Maduro's arrest, marking a significant escalation in diplomatic hostilities. The feud between the two South American nations has been intensifying since President Milei, an outspoken critic of Maduro's socialist regime, took office in December. And Argentina is among the several countries that have refused to recognize Maduro's highly contentious re-election victory in July. So as the standoff continues, it underscores the growing ideological divide between Argentine President Milei's anarcho-capitalist approach and Venezuelan President Maduro's socialist stronghold. And finally, the United Kingdom is facing unprecedented flash floods after parts of England and Wales received a month's worth of rain in just 24 hours. The deluge brought chaos, which turned roads into rivers, causing travel delays and property damage. Emergency services were stretched thin as the London Fire Brigade scrambled to respond to over 300 flood-related emergencies. Here's more on the unprecedented flooding.
The UK is no stranger to sudden downpours, where the weather can switch from a pleasant afternoon to a soggy mess in the blink of an eye. Yesterday, however, parts of England and Wales witnessed a deluge so intense that a whole month's worth of rainfall fell within just 24 hours. This relentless rainfall brought flash floods, wreaking havoc on transport systems and leaving a trail of damaged properties in its wake. In London, roads turned into canals, and some train lines were forced to shut down. Meanwhile, hundreds of residents found themselves stranded in their own homes as the water levels rose.
I'm not angry, I'm stupefied at the way, the inability to actually look at cost-effective solutions. We're not saying do an expensive job, do a job which is worth doing.
Clearly last night there was a hell of a rainfall and the river started rising. When I got up this morning, the back garden was partially flooded. Now it's completely flooded. And it must be under about 8 or 9 inches of water. It's never been this bad since we've lived here in 2013.
Over in England's Leighton Buzzard, Oxfordshire and Bedfordshire, the streets morphed into roaring rivers, with locals remarking that they hadn't seen such severe flooding in over a decade. In places like Luton, Dunstable and Woburn, thunderstorms piled on the misery. Authorities did not waste any time issuing more than 20 flood warnings for areas like Leighton Buzzard, Luton and parts of London. In addition, over 80 flood alerts were dispatched, suggesting that the downpour might just be a preview of what's to come. These warnings steadily increased throughout the day as conditions worsened. The London Fire Brigade was overwhelmed with over 300 flood-related emergency calls. The teams sprang to action, rescuing those trapped in submerged cars and homes. Their efforts extended underground too, as commuters stuck in tube stations desperately needed assistance. Schools and businesses in Bedfordshire and Oxfordshire also closed their doors. Some had to bring back their remote learning setups, much like the pandemic days, to continue their work. But the floods weren't the only thing making headlines. AFC Wimbledon's Carabao Cup clash with Newcastle United was called off after a giant sinkhole appeared on the pitch, leaving the stadium out of action and the match's future date undecided. A yellow warning remains in effect across England and southeast Wales, cautioning that heavy rainfall could bring more floods, power cuts and travel chaos. The Met Office has forecasted continued downpours in southern and central parts of the country this week. By Wednesday, another spell of prolonged rain is predicted to drench England and Wales, followed by an icy blast from the Arctic, which would lower temperatures across the UK by the end of the week, as Britons grapple with the rapid realities of climate change and its impact.
That's our show for today. We certainly thank you so much for tuning in. We hope to see you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks everyone again for watching. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired!
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.